What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Ink and Insights, our weekly highlight comic book review show where we talk about some of our favorite comics from the last week and some of the books that you may have missed. As always, I'm joined with Stu from Dr. Doom's fan club. Stu, how you doing today, man? What's going on?
I'm doing well, brother. Glad to be here. We have a ridiculously stacked lineup of books to talk about. I'm so happy to get into it tonight, man. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's just been the beginning of this year has been like crazy. It's just been nonstop crazy 24/7, but I'm
Yeah.
surviving. I'm here. Like you said, it's been a stacked week. Last week had a lot of really good comics here. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it and talk about them. Not only that, but maybe talk about some news that is keeps hitting every single day with new little facets, new little things that we're seeing come down the pipeline here. And I think that might be a fitting place to start the show as well, which is going to be the fact that Diamond Distribution has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Stu, you're slightly more of an expert in this in the news facet of this part of it here. So why don't you go ahead and take it? Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, man. The bankruptcy. Obviously, I filed about a week ago, and I think the most recent news here that Image Comics will no longer distribute its titles through them, which is obviously a huge blow. And um, yeah, I don't know. It's been something that's really kind of shaken the industry to its core. I feel like it's affected so many shops. I feel like um so many shops out there are trying to put it together one week to the next, and really kind of flying by the seat of their pants. So I feel like a lot of people have been affected by a lot of people deal with Diamond in that manner and have been affected by that. I know my shop is one. I have to go now. I'm lucky to get everything by Saturday. So um I think the writing's been on the wall, obviously, for quite a while, but you know, image is crazy, and what's left. I know. I just know it's going to be like we were talking about backstage. It's going to be super difficult for small publishers to kind of try to find their way now, and it's you know I don't know. What are your thoughts on everything, and how has your experience been at your LCS? Have you been affected?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in my opinions, pessimistic. If I'm being completely honest, if I'm throwing it out there, no one's going to be optimistic when you throw words like bankruptcy out there, right? And I think there's a lot of different avenues that people need to understand and talk about when it comes to what's happening right now. But I mean, let's look back 4 years ago to this time frame, right? The world was shut down, COVID shut down, and Image Comics was one of the biggest proponents of Diamond, with their whole back the comeback thing, right? Our comeback will be stronger than our setback, whatever the saying was for the Wednesday Warriors out there. Um, Image was behind Diamond. Today, Image backed out and said we're not being distributed by Diamond anymore. That's extraordinarily telling, and it's a huge blow to that company, right? On top of all the things that they're already struggling with. This has been a process that's been going down the pipeline for years. So, like, I mean, I think it's very short-sighted to say this was something that nobody could have foreseen. The writing was
Right.
on the wall, right? Like, I mean, not only were small publishers slowly but surely dwindling away outside of Diamond, and everything that's happened within the last week or so. But then, you start seeing the booms being purchased by Penguin Random House. Well, Penguin Random House isn't going to use Diamond to distribute their books when
Yeah,
they
for
are a
sure.
distributor themselves, right? So, like, all of these things were lining up, and all of these things happened with a reason. Everything happened with a purpose, and now it's culminated in this. But I think the important thing to remember is that by no means does this mean it's the end. It looks nasty, but the purpose,
It does. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's no getting around it, right? Like, but the purpose of a Chapter 11 bankruptcy is not. Remember, bankruptcy is not like a nail in the coffin. You guys are dead in the water. The purpose of this is a restructuring of the debt. It's done so to make sure that the proper protocols are put in place so that everyone does get paid the payments that they need, and to get the business on the track that it needs to be on. Problem is that there is a air of uncertainty around a company that has to utilize this. So of course the partnerships that they have and the deals that they struck with these other companies, like an Image, like a Vaults, like a Boom, I mean, how does that inspire confidence? But my biggest concern is the ripple effect that this all has now coming down the pipeline, because you know Diamond can't get books to shops because they have poor business practices. That affects the
Yeah.
shops. Them not getting the books to be able to sell impacts the publishers. Now the company can't facilitate the distribution of books for the publishers. They're not gonna do that, right? They're not gonna stand for that. They're gonna find the alternative solutions, or just quite frankly the better solutions to, I don't know, to make them money, right? Because at the end of the day, this is all business. And if Diamond can't make them money, why in God's name would they continue to saddle up on that horse? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a wonder why when you hear some of these horror stories about what they've been putting shops through, it's a wonder that some of the shops have stayed on for this long and endured some of the, just like the no, like the kind of like mystery invoices, not knowing what you have ordered or what you owe, and it seems like one thing after another. So yeah, I don't know. Like you said, writing's been on a wall for a minute, but I don't know. What do you, and in like a year's time, what do you think? You think it's going to be detrimental or a good thing for the industry, or time will tell? Like, how do you see things going in the longer run?
I mean, detrimental for the industry? No. There's no way that it is, right? Because not only has the industry survived this, but they very honestly like
Right.
survived the exact same thing, right? Like we've seen these things happen. In fact, it's kind of funny, and I got a really good perspective today from somebody, and they said like, I'm not a Diamond hater. Like I can't hate
Hmm.
Diamond, right? Because if you want to call them a monopoly, fine, they were, but it wasn't a monopoly by their choosing. They didn't come out there and say we're gonna have our run of the industry and we're gonna be the solo distribution factory. No, it's just nobody wanted to compete with them. That's not on
Yeah.
them. Like, so they rested on their laurels because nobody else wanted to come in and say, okay, well, we could do it better. It took an incredibly bizarre and awful situation, which was COVID, to
Yeah.
make people rise up and provide that competition. And unfortunately, Diamond couldn't react. They weren't in a place where they can react because guess what? Comics shut down. So it's like, they were put, their backs were up against a wall. Like honestly, I do feel bad for them as an organization, because like, who could have anticipated that the dominoes line up so perfectly for them to F up so badly in every possible way that could lead to this? But a lot of it, like, sure, could it be controlled? Of course, it could have. But like, you would have had to have such foresight to be able to predict the things that were happening. Like, it was kind of impossible.
Yeah, and I feel like there were just some general business practice things that they could have done a lot better
Mhm.
to, regardless of what the industry forecast would have been for them. I think that they at least could have given themselves a better fighting chance, to adapt to change and yeah. But it just, I don't know, man. I hopefully Penguin and Lunar have all their ducks in a row, and um uh, yeah. Simpleton said I've never heard any complaints about Lunar. I haven't either. So hopefully that's not an
Well,
issue that we're going to encounter on down the road
well,
later this year with
yeah, and
another.
there's a lot of facets that come along with that. I've heard mostly good things about Lunar, and I'm sure that your shop, if they use Lunar, has echoed these sentiments, which is that you get shipments from Penguin, you get shipments from Lunar, you get shipments from Diamond. Well, two out of those three, you're sending 40% of your books back because they're coming through damage. Penguin Random House,
Mhm.
at least at the onset when they started distributing books for Marvel, they packaged them very much like they would package a trade paperback when they were sending it to Barnes and Noble or something, which is like, they're just packed in that box. There's no two ways about it. Well, a periodical, a floppy comic book, you can't do that because we're in the hobby of collectibles, and some of us don't really care about the condition of our books, right? Some of us do, though. In fact, some of us do so much so that we have them encased in freaking plastic and displayed. Oh, which way? Back there, right? So you know, it's you can't do that with something that is also considered a collectible. I've heard that I've seen it with my own two eyes. I've seen that they've upped their practices. Lunar has never had that issue. They double box everything. Everything comes with the bubbly stuff in there, right? To make sure that nothing's shaking around and getting dented corners and all that kind of stuff. But again, Diamond never had a reason to fix it. So like, why would they? There was no incentive. What was somebody going to say? Oh, we're going to go to this other mysterious, distributor.
Right.
Like,
yeah. No competition. Vern in the house. Vern, station brother. Good to see you, man. Hope you're well. That's like the book hole.
You are unique, simpleton, and we love you for it.
your quality is just a little bit better than Diamond's, bro.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But and like I was saying though, it really it boils down to that ripple down effect though, because that's what I feel is going to have the largest impact, which is like it's going to impact the shops and it's going to impact the publishers, which is going to necessitate both of them to make decisions that are going to be detrimental to Diamond, whether they like it or not, whether they don't have any control at this point. It's just like, we talk about books that we don't enjoy and we say, vote with your dollars. You don't like a book, don't pick it up, right? Send a message. Shops need to send a message. And I don't care if you're a mom and pop shop that's been working with Diamond, since the freaking 70s. Like, you can't do it anymore. Like, I hate that it's forcing the shop's hands to do something about it. But also,
I completely agree with you though, because my shop has been slow to action, and it's ridiculous now. I go, I went last week, and it's like all they got is DC on the show. It's just like, why am I doing this? Like, what are we doing here? And it's, for me, we've talked about this before, but if I'm making the effort to get there at pretty much any time, any day before Saturday, I'm making an effort to get there. You know what I mean? I'm trying to really carve out that time that I don't have. So for me to go there and not have my books is just like, I don't know. It's just like this past week was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, man. I was just over it. It's like, what, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I don't know. What are we expecting here? You know what I mean? No, seriously. Yeah. Like, what are you waiting on? Enough is enough. So I completely agree with you on that sentiment.
Yeah, it's true. Like, it's easier to, you can't set the expectation because no one's going to listen, right? You just have to understand what that expectation is. And the expectation, unfortunately, from some of these shops that haven't grown and changed with the times is that, well, you're not going to have your books. And if you don't have your books, you really don't have a business model, right? So,
yeah,
make up your mind, pick. But seriously, it sucks that they're forced to do that. But I mean, that's just the way, that's business, right? That's just the way that this stuff works. So I have a little bit of empathy, but I can't have a tremendous amount because you've had, the better part of 5 years now to start to figure out what that needs to look like.
Yeah. So just for the record, is Marvel still distributing through them? Like, are Marvel books still going to be late? Or
no? So what happens is Diamond was a sub distributor of Marvel, which means that basically they worked with Penguin. So they would get Penguin's orders. Penguin would send it to them, and they acted as the middleman to get it to the shops. That way, the shops don't have to put in orders through, Penguin and Lunar and Diamonds just to get a couple different things. Because again, the more you order, the bigger discounts the shop get. That's a good thing, right? So it just became this balancing act where they're like, well, we have to keep ordering from Diamond because it doesn't make sense not to. That's where we get the biggest discount, so long as we're ordering Image and Marvel and blah blah blah. The list goes on. Well, now that option is going to be
basically, their hands are tied.
Exactly. Yeah. So
because DC and Image are off the board.
Okay. Yeah. So it's shit or get off the pot.
I got you. Well, appreciate the clarification on that, man. Yeah. Kind of somber news, but it is what it is. Like we said. So, yeah. Hopefully those delays will stop happening. For shops across the country, and we can get back to getting our books on time and enjoying them in a punctual manner.
And this is something I was thinking about kind of in the realm of Diamond, but like kind of ancillary, like off to the side, is that we've been talking a lot about Marvel, especially in 2024. And people like Nick, our buddy from Comic Culture, has spoken glowingly about Marvel. He's just such a
Wow.
big fan of them, right? Others have been a little bit critical, right? Because Marvel kind of had a down year, if you will. I'm wondering if Marvel had a down year because they had the best possible Magic 8 ball in the world. Because think about what could happen here. There's a lot of talent that has put out books through publishers in the past, like AWA and Aftershock and Vault. And some of these were extraordinarily good books, right? I don't want to poo-poo on them, even though these publishers have fallen on hard times. Well, these publishers don't have a distributor anymore, right? Vault has made the decision that they're going to self-publish, and I find it hard to believe that that's going to be a successful measure when you're a publisher that only puts out one book a month. I don't know how that's a good business model to actually be profitable for you. Has Marvel played the long game in getting talent for their books by basically just, attrition, right? They just let everyone else die off so that they had to say, all right, come on back now, sign on the dotted line for our page rate.
That's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, that's a great point. That's going to be, I think, time will tell over the next couple quarters what books start getting announced and what creative teams start popping up. But yeah, that's a great point, because I don't know. I think that's one of the big negatives is it could be a serious gut punch to the indie comic industry, and it felt like they had so much momentum and was really putting some meat on their bones. So it's kind of disappointing to realize, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah. But I mean, but again, that's the whole reason why all these indie publishers, the smaller ones popped up, is because they would take their stories to, places like Image, and Image can only put out so many books, right? They still have quality control that they need to take care of. And if their editors don't feel like it fits that criteria, even if it's a good story, they're the ones that have to say, sorry, we don't have a place in the docket for you, right? So that's where Booms came in. That's where Aftershocks and AWAs came in. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is I truly do see this as somewhat of a silver lining, because I feel like it's going to be a consolidation of the industry, and it's going to help the cream rise to the top. So at the end of the day, is it great for like every person that's a creative that's making these books? No, of course not. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that strife is good, but in times of turmoil, creativity, usually blossoms. And again, the cream will rise to the top. So that will in turn lead to us getting better books. And in that, if that's the case, then I'm all for it, because the more quality books, the better. That's all I want to do is talk comics. So
yeah, say you're stranded on an indie island with, like, you can only have one of those publishers, like one of those that was here in the past but is gone today, like an AWA or something. Who are you choosing? I think I'm taking AWA, man. AWA had a bunch of great books, but
not well. Dang,
Boom's
man,
up there. TKO's got a couple sleepers.
TKO did have a couple. Dude, there's some of their books that I really thoroughly enjoyed, man. God, that's tough. That is so freaking tough, because I love AWA because they were kind of, they were fronted by the people that I feel like had play in the best era of Marvel, at least in my time of enjoying comics, right? Axel Alonso, Bill Jemas, all that kind of thing. So like, I really want to lean into that, but also it was the same short-sighted idea that most people had, which was like, it's an IP pitch, right? We're gonna sell the IP and everyone's gonna get rich. No, like that didn't happen. Nobody saw that happen. So if you take Image out of account for that, dude, the early days of Vault were stupendous. They were just so good. So like, it's hard for me not to say Vault, because they had such strong creative teams, and they fostered,
like, what were some of those titles? Help jog my memory.
Dude, okay, so we had The Savage Shores from Rom V. We had Dan Waters on Coffin Bound. We had Michael Morisi and Hayden Sherman on Wasted Space. Dude, there was like so many freaking good books that came out. We had Turncoat was with Boom. Arcadia from Alex Packnadel came out from Vault. They just came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, like, every single thing, like, it made me go back And I was just like, I want every Vault book that's ever come out. And I started collecting that way, just being like, I don't care the title, I don't care the creative team. I have trust in what they're putting out.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That trust was broken a little bit
That's
after as time
that's
went
how I
on.
felt with AWA. I mean, and it wasn't really a broken trust as time went on. It just, the books became less and less frequent. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was great. And Diodato was their kind of like their guy for a while, and they had Marici on a great story. What was that? The Joneses, I think, or yeah, man, they had some great books. I saw Vern. Yeah, Vern said didn't know they were gone.
I don't know if they're technically gone, but like I
think they're still hanging around. They had You and I dropped this year by Straczynski and Mike Choi, and I don't know if I'm trying to think of any other books.
The last book that I picked up from them was the Mark Russell one shot, which was Death Ratioed. That was
okay. Yeah, that was solid.
Earlier in
and then
in
dude,
2024.
like I'm talking, yeah, that was back in the glory day. Like the Not All Robots, that one got nominated for Eisner. That Russell did with Diodato was fantastic. Such a great great take on toxic masculinity and shit with the robot, and it's fantastic. But Southside Scout had potential too. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. That was where I first heard the name Dennis Camp for Agent of World. So like again, like these publishers, like it just sucks. It's really a bummer. But again, like like we're not in a position to make any change with this besides buying the books, right? But like it is what it is. So all we can do is hope that the best creative teams get put on the best books, and it makes a difference for our enjoyment level for each and everything that's put out here, whether it's, you know, a superhero book, an indie book, a whatever book. Like all we can do is hope for the best. But I mean, the writing is on the wall that things are not great right now. We still got 2 solid distributors from what we can see. Doesn't look like it's going to be 3. Yeah. Well, with that being said,
that was a bit of news that we had to cover.
yeah. No, that was a good conversation though. I'm glad that we talked about talking.
Yeah, because we meant to, you know, obviously it's been weeks long saga, so we meant to get to it last week a little bit, but yeah, I'm glad we touched on it today. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So as always, though, you know, we kind of do this with the mindset of being able to talk about the books themselves here. So we've talked about the distribution of them here, but I think it's only worthwhile that we start off the show here talking about the House of Ideas with none other than Ultimate Wolverine #1, written by Chris Condon with artwork by Alessandro Capuccio. This, I had so much freaking fun with. I'm not even going to lie. It was a quick and easy kind of read, but man, like it just, I don't know, man. It hit everything that I wanted from a Wolverine book, and especially comparing it to a book that just came out with the new relaunch of Wolverine. Like this did so much more for me than that book ever did. And I know that a lot of people were like hyped for issue #1, and I was kind of like, it's all right. I mean, it's Wolverine in the Woods. We've seen this, like this one hit the ground. Like, okay. And I didn't even mean for a pun right there. This hit the ground running so hard. And it starts with Wolverine in a scene very reminiscent of the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
getting ready to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Is like, did you think of that same thing?
It was Cat Bucky Barnes energy, right? Just jumping out of the plane with nothing. Like, yeah, it was fantastic, man.
Yeah, did he have a shoot? No. Right? I love the way that they started this, but it wasn't a way like he wasn't jumping into the ocean, right? He jumped and freaking went splat. He was just he turned himself into a missile, as opposed to, oh, I just don't need it because I'm jumping into the ocean. Like, no. I'm gonna go do damage, not only to myself, but to everyone in my trajectory that freaking gets caught in the wake of my, you know, bloody explosion that, you know, happens when I hit the ground. What did you think about the introduction of the character? Like, and not only the introduction, but like the reimagining of this character, if you will.
It was dope. I mean, I will say I'm kind of curious to see like what else is revealed, and is it really just as simple as like they found the Ultimate Universe's Logan and you know, mind wiped him or whatever. I'm hoping that his backstory isn't just as black and white as they're kind of making it out to be. I'm looking for, like, you know, some more complex Weapon X type layers there. But regardless, I still think it's because that's so much who Logan is, and also I think they do a little bit of that when we see his conversation with Kurt later on. But yeah, dude, I love the intro. I love Capuccio's artwork. I love like the glow about it and the kinetic energy. I think it's so well suited to this character and these action sequences. And yeah, this worked for me in every way. Like you said, it checked all the boxes. And it didn't I don't want to say it didn't blow me away, because it did blow me away. I thought it was fantastic and it was super violent, but like I don't know. I'm left a little quizzical about where we're gonna go and how much depth he's gonna give to the character, I guess. And I'm curious to see like the X-Men background. That said, I still loved it, and yeah, I don't want to sound hung up on it. So
no,
yeah.
I don't think it sounds hung up at all. In fact, I agree with you, and people in the chat too. Leave us a comment. Let us know what your opinions of this issue was. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What was your thoughts? But I think that there's a couple things that are working for this book and a couple things that worked against it, and it kind of depends on what I guess what you're like as a reader. I think this book gave me everything I expected and wanted from a Wolverine book, which is great, right? So it didn't let me down. But what I kind of like as a reader and as a viewer of just entertainment is I kind of like my expectations to be subverted. I like that. Oh, like, and we talked about this last week a little bit. Like, I kind of like the rug being pulled out from underneath me, where I'm like, whoa, maybe that didn't make 100% sense, right? But if you get me at like 75%, like it made sense, and you surprised me, you gave me something I didn't know I needed in my life, but I definitely see that I do now that you've shown me. That's the thing that makes something special. I can't say that this delivered on that part of it, right? I feel like it was very cookie cutter, like, but it was enjoyable. Like again, and it's kind of like what you were saying. Like I don't mean to like sound like I'm talking down to it. It just gave me everything I wanted and nothing more than that. But I think it lays a couple cool seeds for what could be coming down the pipeline here. So like what you were saying, like, I hope this isn't just like a retread. I want something more. I want some meat on the bone. What were your thoughts about some of the backstory you get? So to pick up on the story here, Wolverine lands, he starts shredding things up here, and we find out it's a monastery that's housing one of the only bastions where mutants are popping up. There's one or two places in the world, one of them being Russia, one of them being Japan. And this is one of the places where some of those mutants are holed up. And it seems like maybe there's a relationship to Wolverine here. Well, I mean, there definitely is, right? There's some kind of relationship, whether he was with them or just knew about them. So what were your opinions on kind of the relationships that were bonded here and some of the backstory that we've gotten with Wolverine and how he was turned into the Winter Soldier of the Ultimate Universe?
So I love the conversation, the conversation between him and Kurt, and how Kurt was like, we came back for you. There seemed to be some horrific event that happened that kind of obliterated the team. They thought all was lost, but Kurt wanted him to know that they came back for you, and like that if you survive, that it wasn't, and we didn't get to you, it wasn't because we weren't looking, type of thing. You know what I mean? Because it seems like instead he got picked up by these forces of the Maker or the Cabal or whatever, and turned into this thing. Like you said, his transformation is very cookie cutter, man, and that part kind of left me dry. Like I was just like, all right. The best moments to me were the moments, and the most emotional moments were the moments with Kurt and trying to see if he was going to break or show any type of emotion or recognition. I love how ruthlessly he killed Mystique, dude, and how she showed up looking like Colossus, and he bought it for a half second. I love how they used his sense of smell throughout this issue. They brought all that primal nature back to the character, and I definitely appreciated that. But yeah, just ripping her neck to shreds was freaking awesome, and I appreciated the Clockwork Orange having his eye peeled open, and these are your enemies type of thing. That was dope. However, I could have used a more some type of different and more radical A to B as to how this ultimate killing machine was created. I guess
there's an aspect of it. Oh, okay.
Part of that remains to be seen, right? Because we don't know everything yet. This is just the first issue, and so I could end up eating crow come issue 2. But I don't know. It was a little bit more basic than I was anticipating. I thought it would be a little bit more of a departure from the norm, as we've come to know through the Wolverine canon. However, I thought the scene in the cathedral, him going to work was badass, dude. So yeah,
dude, there's a couple things that I really love about how they laid everything out, and like I had alluded to for my reading experience here, I think that they laid enough seeds for me where I'm like, ooh, this could go in really interesting places. The first thing was the way that they handled the Kurt relationship, because personally that's my favorite relationship in the big two comics. I love Wolverine and Nightcrawler. Kurt and Logan, the duality of those individuals, the way that they are so opposite of one another, but the love and care that they have for one another, and
like the elf nickname. There's so many little awesome things about it.
My very first issue that I ever had growing up was Uncanny X-Men 172, and it's the issue that has the cover of the wedding invitation between Logan and Mariko, and at the very bottom of the invitation it says, "Hey elf, don't forget the beer." Dude, like, so that like that relationship just means so much to me in my comic book reading and appreciating journey. So to see how they worked with that was just like, it threw me for a loop, right? It was like I was a ball of emotion, kind of seeing like how this is going to play out. Every page turn was like oh god, don't let this happen. Oh god, I can't believe that they're saying this, right? And I'm trying to kind of walk a tightrope between not giving away what happened. But the other biggest relationship that Logan has in comics, arguably, is with a telepath, right? And they allude to it when we're seeing the flashbacks of Logan in the chamber, whatever the heck that is, his watery prison thing where they're mind wiping him and putting the adamantium in him. They're talking to the scientists, and they say something along the lines of, if it weren't for that psychic that we have, right, or if it weren't for that telepath that we had on our side, there's only 2 places that mutants can be right now.
Oh, juicy.
If Jean freaking Grey had something to do with Wolverine becoming the Winter Soldier, dude, I'm so down. So again, like, everything is kind of like, it's all possibility right now. Like I'm kind of like leaning into like what this could be. We got delivered a really fantastic action issue. It's where it goes from here, man. It's like, so Chris and Alessandro, you got my attention. Don't let up. Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this, because I know you weren't, I know I was a more regular Jed McKay Moon Knight reader than you were. How did you feel about Capuccio's artwork, kind of encountering it for the first time on a new book?
It was gorgeous. It work
for you? Yeah,
I loved it. Like it being in the cathedral itself. My biggest pet peeve in comic books right now is artists not drawing a background, but not doing so intentionally to draw your eye towards like certain things, like, right, the page layout, or like, making sure that you're following along with the pace of the story. If it's just done out of I shouldn't say laziness, right? I don't know that. But if it's a rush job, if it's clearly a rush job, that drives me nuts. And we didn't get a lot of that in this issue. In fact, I think that we got more wide scope things that were happening here. We got the backdrop at the cathedral. We got the plane where he's diving out to it. Yeah. The page layouts were great. The pacing was great. Dude, he really put me on notice. I'm like, dude, I want to follow this dude. I want to watch this dude. This was great artwork.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. So I had a heck of a time here. Speaking of heck of a time here, we have a lot more people that joined into the chat here before we jump into our next issue here. Absolutely. So let's see here. We got Nick that joined us. Station buddy, nice to see you.
Talking Marvel, Nick.
Talking Marvel, you love it. Speaking of Marvel lovers here. Oh, wait, no. It's DC Patrol. I missed it. DC, what's up, buddy?
A man of great taste.
Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of men of great taste here, James Phelps with us here. Ink and Insights is the
James,
best.
what up,
Thank you.
bro?
We appreciate that, man.
Thank you, bro. Always
And we
appreciate you
got
coming through.
Paul from the
Paul.
619 here. Nice seeing you,
Paul,
Paul.
what up, bro? Good to see you.
Oh, and look at this. Showing up just in time while we're calling everyone out here. Miss
Christina.
Christina Payne here, moderator extraordinaire.
What
Thank
up?
you so
Thank y'all
much.
for coming through.
Dude, y'all are the best. Thank you. And look at this. Right at the right time here. Paul from Bangkok. Dude.
What up, man? Thanks for coming
Thank
through.
you for joining us from Bangkok. Hey,
Welcome.
so I didn't tell Stu this, but I wanted to ask a favor of all of you in the chat here. Since we got a couple people rolling with us now, do you guys know anyone that reads comics in your lives? Do you know anyone that like maybe appreciates people talking about comics? Because my brother Stu is 4 subs away from hitting 200. 4 subs away.
Oh,
And I
stop
wouldn't, I'm just saying, that's a pretty easy bar to cross, and I think that we could maybe just possibly cross it tonight. Search your hearts, search your feelings, talk to your friends here. If they got a sub that they can make here, consider, heading over to Dr. Doom's fan club. Let's get a sub. Let's get this guy over 200 today.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Of course. All right. Next issue up here. I want you to take the lead on this one here because, there's a person on the cover here. You were just talking with John's Comics with Kids and No Good Comics, Justin, last night about New Mutants. And I know that there's a Storm lover over there, but you happen to be a Dr. Doom lover. So go ahead. Take us through this journey.
Absolutely, yes. Check me out. I was on No Good Comics last night for the incredible, legendary Omni X-Men show covering New Mutants 19 and 20, some Sienkiewicz glory. It was amazing. Great show with the homies. 2 of the best people in this community. So make sure you guys are subbed up to them as well. Yeah, Storm number 4, man. This series has been such a brilliant surprise, right? We covered, I think, number 2 on the show with Fable. The story I don't think was nearly as juicy. We did.
Yes. I'm trying to remember which
I think it was 2. It was 2 or 1.
That sounds right.
Yeah, but it was the story was still kind of getting its legs under it back then, and it's since kind of taken off. She's lost her powers effectively. Here we find her. She's taking refuge in Latveria. She's lost her powers she's without her powers for a week. If she uses them within that week's time, then she has this, I forget what's the name of the demon that's coming after her, the Herald of Eternity or something, or she becomes the Herald of Eternity if she uses them in that time. So she's got basically this evil force on top of her, waiting for her to slip up. And at the end of this issue, you wonder if Doom has something to do with it, right? So she's in Latveria, and just based on the incredible history between Doom and Storm, they find themselves at dinner. This, of course, first showed up way back in the days with I think 145 here, Uncanny X-Men, the arcade where Storm finds herself feeling the good doctor a little bit, right? The Master of Menace is a man of culture. Not only that, the food is amazing. It definitely took care of her, helped nurse her back to health. Eventually things got a little dicey between the two, but they ironed it out at the end of this story arc, of course. They's also showed up in Black Panther back in the I think early to mid 2000s. When Doom was trying to basically usurp all the vibranium from Wakanda, and kind of had Storm folded into his plan there. And then recently she showed up in Sword with another homage to having dinner with Doom on Araco on Mars, with a great scene that was a great throwback to the arcade X-Men issues. And so where do we find ourselves again here in the the beginning of this issue? Dude, not only that, my man has found the recipe to her father's gumbo. Like, I was fist pumping when I read that. She
same. Big time same.
All right, so to break kayfabe, I work in a kitchen full time. So one of my favorite movies about cooking is Ratatouille, right? And I love the scene when the critic in Ratatouille has the Ratatouille dish, and it takes him back to his childhood. Right, he's a
Yeah.
boy again. Exactly what happens here, and not only that, but you come out of it, and Storm is just blown away by these flavors, and Doom has got the recipe to her father's gumbo, which is incredible in of itself. Yeah, and basically, how did you feel about the situation? He has a pastry that's, I guess, designed for mutant taste buds, and Storm doesn't like the taste of it, and he tries to execute the pastry chef, and she stops it using her powers, and I don't know, he kind of brings her out into the open. How did you feel about that sequence?
It's so uniquely Doom. So let me go back to the beginning here, because I love the relationship, whatever you want to call it, right? The relationship that's Aurora and Victor have, because Reed Richards is one of the smartest men in the Marvel universe, right? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, right? As is Victor, right? But Victor has his pride, where Reed does as well, but he's kind of always in the moment. He has that aha moment where he's just like, he humbles himself for the betterment of whatever it be, the world, his family, whatever that case may be. Victor Von Doom will never respect Reed Richards, ever, right? End all be all, right? He respects Aurora, though. Like, he puts her higher than arguably any other person in the Marvel universe. Maybe Valeria hits a little bit higher, right? But Aurora is like, she is way high up there, dude. So for a person like him, for a proud person like Victor Von Doom, to be able to maybe just be a smidgen humbled by an individual because he knows absolutely how powerful they are, like, not just through their powers, not just from the mutant powers, but like just the strength of character that a person like she has. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome to see the respect that he puts on her, that she kind of sort of reciprocates, but not
Yeah.
enough to where she compromises her own beliefs, right? She's just like, I appreciate what you're doing right now, Victor. Don't cross a damn line, though. And that's where the dagger comes. And that
and
just sets up.
And
Ah,
dude, we also didn't include the super thirsty panels of her like in the lingerie, and then getting in this like exquisite green gown to kind
I
of
was
like,
looking for a way. I'm
is
like, how
she
do I
like,
put these pages on screen? Like, we're gonna get
oh, it's like,
demonetized.
yo, like and that's like, you're like 3 or 4 pages in with the lingerie shot. I'm like, yo, this and it's incredible, man. And that shot that Wernick has of her flying in on that bird, and it's all that sweeping white around the page. It's just so well done. The art in this book is exemplary, and it's like
Yes.
unlike any other Marvel book really out that I see right now. It's so individualistic, and it's so each page is trying to do something different. Some are trying to tell a story, some are just trying to be great sweeping pages of art, just beautiful spreads, and the color choices are fantastic. I can't say enough good things about the art. It really blew me away page to page, especially in this issue. I mean, it has in prior ones, but this one especially was I thought super impressive.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just this issue draws on so many different things. The artwork is
Oh,
spectacular.
sorry.
It's all right, man. The artwork is spectacular. I think it's telling a really compelling story. I feel like issue one of this series didn't do much for me. In fact, I was kind of one and done. I was like, okay, I don't know what they're trying to do, but like part of it was effective. I really like that Storm is an ambassador for mutants for the United Nations. I didn't know if that was enough to compel me to continue, but each issue has gotten better and better and better. And like, when I was doing my review of this one, I honestly said, like, as far as like, okay, rug pull moments or whatever that you would say, like, I had the most fun with this issue, and I thought that this did the most for me as far as my enjoyment levels. Like, this was a pick of the week contender. It played with so many things that I really enjoyed about how they worked with the character herself, and like I said, that relationship. I love how it was kind of a little bit of an homage and a love letter to Life Death, right? The 2 issue
Mm,
arc between Claremont and Paul Smith back. I'm sorry, not Paul Smith. That was
Barry
Barry Windsor Smith.
Yep.
Thank you. It was a really like a love letter to that portion of, you know, of her character arc, right? Which is arguably probably the strongest thing that she's done as far as like character recognition. It was just beautiful. And then what they're playing with at the end and what this all means, could be, I don't know, it could be huge. It could be have really big ramifications. And it's doing the same thing that I talk about with all the solo X books. They're doing more effective work in the solo books than they are in the team books. This is 100,000 times more compelling than X-Men or Uncanny X-Men or X-Force or any of them. Like, so pick up the pace.
Absolutely. I mean, I was saying, wow, you know, 3, 4, 5 times before the story really got going with the art. I mean, it was just, I was blown away in those early pages, and you know, before like we even really sit down at the table with Doom. So yeah, props to the creative team and all involved. Storm's a great one.
Yeah, it was awesome. Speaking of awesome books, though, not only did Marvel, and let's give credit where credit's due. Marvel had 2 really awesome books here. This one definitely stood out, but 2 incredible books here that we talked about. Let's move on to the distinguished competition, though, with DC, as we talk about another incredible book, which was Batman and Robin Year 1, number 4, written by Mark Waid with artwork by Chris Samney. Let's try this again. There we are.
Oh.
All right, there we are again. All right, we got it going here. Stupid slides. All right. Just like we're having issues with the slides here, Batman and Robin were having issues with their underwater escapades, as you know, we kind of pick up right where the last issue left off, which is a huge explosion that happened on the ship. Batman's drug underwater. He's trapped between these containment units, right? It's got his leg pinched. Dude's down for the count here. It just happens to be that Robin, a young Dick Grayson, is able to dive in, and whether Bruce wants to admit it or not in that moment, save his life by way of, you know, shining a light which shows him a crowbar where he can get a little bit of leverage and get himself out of there. Doesn't mean that Bruce isn't going to be a total ass about things and, like, you know, read him his rights for putting them all in danger, but Robin saves the day without a shadow of a doubt. So I feel like there's a good back and forth with this issue here. So before I dive into the Grimaldis on this, what was your impression of Bruce and Dick and kind of the back and forth that they have and how things played out?
It was fantastic, man. I loved the opening shot of like Robin diving down into the water, and yeah, the frantic silent back and forth between them trying to figure it out. And yeah, I could have helped. The flashlight was helpful. Let's get to the boat. Like, he's such a dick when they come out of the
He is. What a jerk. I didn't need you. Like, yeah, you did.
Yeah, seriously, like risking his life. Yeah, because without the flashlight, he wouldn't have been able to see the little the leverage he used to kind of get his leg free. So it was Robin definitely saved the day. But you know, he said that but didn't say that at the same time. But yeah, man, fantastic again. Sandy's artwork just continues to blow me away, man. It's just we'll get into it when we get, you know, into the Grimaldi sequence, but that's where some of my favorite shots of the issue were.
Yeah, same here. So
the sequence on top of the roof with his father is,
dude, how tense was that, man? Like, so I'm reading it, and again, the way I described it, I'm a huge fan of the show Breaking Bad. I loved it. I think it's peak television. This felt peak comic booky in the way that Breaking Bad made me feel as I watched every single episode. The way that they ramp up the tension, the way that it, like, a conversation could have just as much impact as a bullet to the head, right? That's what this felt like, as he's dangling his father, the mafia boss, over the ledge as a way to basically say, you thought small. This is my town now. This is my organization. Get in line, otherwise the line ends down there, right? So, man, it was so awesome. And again,
amazing. Because like Waid and Sam Neill have kept him in the shadows, I feel like, up to now, like, more or less. And it's like, this is a great 2-page spread to really give us like such insight into his character and who he was. But yeah, the shots with like his father's just like terrified eye, just like looking down, and just so you know what I mean? And it's just like I loved all those. Again, I know we've said it a million times with this book, but those Mazzucchellian moments, like it felt like it felt like a panel straight out of year one, and such an effective way to let us know who we're dealing with and who Batman's dealing with here.
Dude, yeah, the visual storytelling that Chris Samney is able to provide in here, because again, they're credited as kind of co-plotters, if you will, or right. Like, I mean,
right,
Mark Waid is writing the story, right? But they both have a hand in crafting how the story is taking place and what's happening, right? So Chris Samney is doing absolutely amazing work. There is no panel, regardless of what is happening, right? A man being wheeled out in a wheelchair still is dynamic and energetic and exciting, and it builds and it builds and it builds until like it gets to a fever pitch, right? Like look at the paneling, the way that it works out, where you see the man's feet dangling over the edge, which cuts to a close-up of his eyes and the sweat, coming down his brow, to then looking down, seeing it from his perspective. That's the kind of stuff you see in storyboarding for movies, and that's the kind of thing that you remember from a good movie. That's exactly the way that the scene is going to play out, and it's done so beautifully in the pages of a comic book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's amazing work by Sam Neill, man. And this is a creative team I'm always all in for, but what they're doing here through 4 issues has been so special, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I know we're not done talking about it yet, but I just want to say how much I love this series. It's so good. And Waid and Sam Neill rule. Like, y'all go check out that Daredevil run, Black Widow, anything they've done together. Fantastic.
Dude, it's a modern day pairing that we just don't see all that often, right? And to see them just do hit after hit after hit, it's a team that has trust in one another, right? And
absolutely,
they know
bring out the best in one another for sure.
Yes, exactly.
Because Mark's writing great stuff right now, and he has been at DC, but this feels so much more elevated and special and like it's going to be something truly timeless. Then
there's good, there's great, and then there's
right.
This.
Exactly. Not that some of his other stuff isn't, but this is something special.
Yeah. So we pick things up, right? The dynamic duo make their daring escape. They end up back at the place where excuse me, I kind of lost train of thought here. They come back to Wayne Manor here, and the caretaker keeps coming back and forth, making their check-ins and everything like that. So they gotta, kind of get back into the swing of things of kind of putting on this play, like, oh, we're a regular family, everything's fine, right?
Dude, I loved how this whole all played out. Like, she shows up, Alfred's there alone. He's clearly not ready for her, right? Like this, obviously, like this crew who's ready for everything that Gotham has to throw on him is not ready for her. Like he hits this little panel on the side of the table that basically broadcasts their conversation down to the Batcave. As I'm assuming Bruce and Robin are just coming back from what they just endured together, where they were, one saved the other's life, but they're still kind of miffed at each other. Did you think, right? So imagine coming out of that dynamic home to that and having to put on like the old father and adopted son routine. I just thought it was so fantastic. And Bruce comes in, nothing like a brisk morning workout. You know what I mean? And I love how Dick shows up. He's fully dressed and he's ready to go. And Alfred's like, put these fucking pajamas on. You just woke up. You're tired. He's like, this is the backstory. Trust me. You know what I mean? And, and Dick tries to there's a moment where, but I'm wide awake. And Alfred's just like glaring at him. He's like, all right.
Yeah. It's like, do I have to say it twice? Get your freaking pajamas on.
It's just such a man. I like the scenes when Child Protection Services or whatever it is, the adoption monitoring people show up, like those have been some of my favorites in this book. Watching these, Dick kind of like annoy Bruce the first time she showed up, doing flips off the chandelier and things like that. And then this, like when they're coming back off a mission, still trying to find just how to deal with each other in this crazy ass scenario where their crime fighting part. It's the whole thing is ass backwards, right? And then just to come into that and try to act like and portray any semblance of normal. It's just hilarious and just so off its rocker. I love how they're barely holding on, right? And it feels like she's gonna pull one little string and it's all gonna come unraveled. So I one of my favorite parts of the comic.
Well, it's such a great like juxtaposition of what we're delivered, right? Like, I mean, the Bruce and Dick parts of the book here have a lot of levity and there have a lot of humor and joy to them, which is in direct opposition to the Batman and Robin portions of it, where there's a lot of danger, there's a lot of bravado, and there's a lot of headbutting that comes along with that. It's a perfect balance when they're playing with that kind of stuff because it like those two things, they elevate one another as well because it builds up the emotions here to then just keep building upon one another, and it gets better and better the more that we kind of ping pong back and forth.
Hell yeah.
So
Absolutely,
ping-ponging back and forth here. Also, I wanted to talk about the ending of this issue because it's very reminiscent of a scene from year one, specifically the one where Bruce as Batman is escaping Gotham City PD, where he calls in the bats for the first time. The scene where he goes to visit Grimaldi and kind of like, tell him like, hey, I got my eyes on you. Nothing is going unseen. Like, I know exactly what you're up to. So reminiscent to that as he sends the box there that happens to be full of bats, nothing more than as a distraction, basically, to get the attention of all his goons so he can basically just get right there face to face with Grimaldi. But we talked a lot about Chris Samnee, and here, let me highlight this real quick because Chris Samnee's artwork in this does something that I feel like needs to be called out here. In the bottom right corner, one of the predominant things that is extraordinarily difficult, if not something that you just cannot do. You hear artists gripe about this. Like, a writer wants me to make like 4 actions in one panel. You can't do that. And for the most part, they're kind of right? I mean, how do you fit that many things happening in one panel of a comic book? You need time for things to breathe and you need time for the actions to take place. But what Chris Samnee does in this bottom panel is shows that Batman puts the tracker on each one of these people, right? He basically essentially smashes 4 actions that take place into one panel, and he does so effectively that doesn't take you out of the storytelling mechanisms of the actual page and the book itself. That's what makes Chris Samnee like so freaking special. It's doing things like that are just, you just don't see it. You just don't see it from most artists.
The callback to year one where he's trapped in the building and he brings all the bats like with the sonar to get to escape. Like, oh man, I love that. I love that bridge.
Yeah. And you can tell this has to be, if this wasn't like a little bit of a wink to year one, how could it not be? Like it seems like he's playing that same song, but he's maybe tuned that guitar just a little bit differently.
Yeah, absolutely. But incredible stuff.
Exactly. All right, moving on to our next issue from DC here. Why don't you go ahead and take it, talking about New Gods number 2.
New Gods number 2. So we open up with another killer guest artist spread, this time from courtesy of Jesse Lonergan. The Mecha Noturnum, right? I'm going to try to say a bunch of words I can't pronounce. We got Carrick the Death Speaker here. I'm not really sure, who this gentleman is or what his place in the story is, but I could read this Ron V poetry all day long, man. Like these opening salvos, both in the first and second issue, have just been gorgeous to look at and gorgeous to read. And this one was no different. I thought the panel work Lonergan did was incredible, doing this like giant, I mean, just incredible stuff. Telling the story that, basically the systems are littered with Sourceborn, that these scouts have reported that they're out there. And, they're sending out this source feeder. I love this. Chasing after new space, gorging on creation dust. I mean, just so many beautiful sentences from Ron V. And it's got all the respect to the Kirby history of it, but it's also its own thing. And I don't know, I just love these. I hope this is a a theme and a format that continues to open up these books, because I think it's beautiful. I'm not sure how it ties into the story at large, but it's been incredible, and I love reading about them. Each one feels like a little bit of a window into the New Gods canon and history, and I'm here for it, man. I just think it's such an epic way to open the book. That transition into Evan Cagle's artwork, right? What we get Highfather's horrible dream of New Genesis crumbling, burning to the ground. Literally, I love the scene of him kind of crying out from the tower, and you have Light Ray there on the balcony, hearing it from afar. I thought that was brilliant. It opens up, right? So our issue kind of opens up with narration of Mr. Miracle writing a letter to Barda saying goodbye. He's got to do what he's got to do. And I was like, man, reading this, I was like, oh, this is not where we're going with it. Like, right? We're not about to leave Barda out of the story, and Scott's
but it was so heartfelt too, right?
Yeah, it was. And I was like, well, fuck, and the girl and all that, and just being a fan of the Tom King run and all that. And then, dude, the big Barda page, right? Yeah, you got it down there in the bottom right. The fucking nerve of you, Scott Free, holding a baby. Like, where did you think you were doing? If and I love how he immediately acquiesces, right? And she tells him, if we're doing this thing, we're doing it together. And I love that. Again, Cagle's artwork, dude. I love you can't see it in that one, but the big Barda lettering behind her, like when they what a page, man.
So cool. It's just like in the same way that
fantastic.
In the same way that we've been like blessed with people like Jesse Lonergan doing those like introductory parts of the story. Remind me, who did issue 1? It's totally slipping my mind right now.
Jorge Fornes, I believe.
Jorge Fornes, thank you. In the same way that we got this, Evan Cagle is doing some fantastic work here as well. There's a lot of really wonderful artistic choices that are being made here in all facets of the book. Starting off with Ram V, though, like to talk about his writing, I think a lot of people, first of all, either you love him or you just can't quite grasp it. It's like he's too Ram V, right? And I love that. Like that's the thing that draws me in. But I think this book might actually be the thing that can change people's minds, because it does get very Ram V. He has a very lyrical and poetic way to that his writing reads and feels, right? Like it's highbrow, and I'm okay with that. But then he can also make it so incredibly relatable when it gets down to the Scott and Barda parts. Like that was so incredibly heartfelt, the way that he was saying goodbye to his family. Maybe not forever, but possibly he didn't know what the consequences of this journey were going to be, but he knew it was his responsibility. So it was wonderful seeing how Scott was taking it upon himself in a way that he thought he was protecting his family. But on that flip side, it was equally as awesome seeing Barda, like you said, being like, no, screw you, we're in this together, because that's what a partnership is, right? That's what a relationship is. So to see her be able to navigate that and understand that that's exactly what Scott was going to do, it was perfect. It was the humanization that I feel like some people miss out on when they're reading Ram V's writing. And if you're not in with Ram V, maybe this is the book for you, right? Maybe this is the thing that's going to be like, oh, that's what everyone's been talking about, because it's really good.
Dude, how much do you love like this flaming apocalyptian font that he's got in these panels that Cagle did? Like, how badass was that?
It's amazing.
Like up there on the top left, and that we got earlier in the story. I love that little detail.
That's the great thing about we got little pieces of this, right, in Dawn Runner, because you read the entirety of Dawn Runner, right?
I did.
Okay, we got bits and pieces of it, but I feel like overall it was kind of like, it felt like something was missing, and I feel like everything that I thought was missing, which was the storytelling and the pacing and not just the bombastic visuals, but like the actual storytelling and the heart behind it. I feel like that's everything we're getting here from Cagle's artwork, because it's not just the words, it's the way those words are being visualized and the actions that are taking place. Like look at the expression on Scott's face when he's just like, oh crap, Bart is there. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's perfect. Like everything just fits, and it's so natural and I don't know, just wonderful. I
And dude,
loved this issue.
here, I'm gonna make myself you see the Tron light cycle we got here?
Yeah,
Right
dude.
there on day 3? Like, how sick was that? I was like, I just love this book so much, man. It's so fantastic. Uh, I think you said it really well. Like, it does allow Ram V to kind of be verbose and poetic, but also be super trimmed down and accessible and true to himself at the same time. And it feels like both with him and Cagle, this book, for whatever reason, is such a lock for both of their styles and what they're trying to do, more so than
Yes.
Dawn Rudder definitely felt. And
Yes.
Cagle did an incredible job on those Detective Comic covers, and besides Dawn Runner, I haven't really seen much of his interior work, but this is just, I love his design on these characters, the way they look. His Metron is fantastic, dude. I love
Let's
the way
talk
his
about
Metron.
Metron. Yeah, because he comes
Yes,
down
right.
later on down the
Big part of
pipeline
this.
here.
But also, before we get there, I love when we go to India, right? And we meet this, this child of power, and I just love that little dip in where we meet his family and being followed by Max Lord. We got these other characters from the DC universe trying to get their hands on this kid. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah, Metron is, what is Metron up to, dude?
Well, here, before we get into that, we had a couple people join us here. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce them here. We got Talk rolling with us.
Hawk,
Nice to
what up,
see you,
brother?
Talk, as
Good to see
always
you.
here. He's saying a lot of new gods in New Gods. And that's okay. That's that's part of the excitement, right? We got Nick saying didn't even need Chat GPT for this issue, but only this issue, and it could be because you've probably read I don't know, 2 omnibuses of Jack Kirby's New Gods. You probably have already dove into like John Byrne's Fourth World. So
we're gonna start
you let
calling
us
Nick.
know.
We're gonna start calling Nick the Safecracker.
Dude, he's like Nick GPT. We don't need Chat GPT.
Exactly. Nick will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, he knows what's up. DC Patrol saying, by the way, Storm is awesome. New Gods is next level. Hard to type at the moment, but I got y'all on three devices. Thank you, DC Patrol, man. We appreciate that. Dude, put
Storm
in the
is
effort.
awesome, dude.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got Nick saying, yeah, this is a more accessible Ram V book. Yeah, exactly. I think without sacrificing his Ram V isms, perfectly put. It is true, yeah, because he's still able to be grandiose, right? But he does so, and this scene actually is a perfect example of that as well. Just like we had our scene with Scott and Barda, we have the scene of the adopted parents of this proposed new god, right? The one that Orion and Scott are both after, and we see the harrowing heartbreak that comes by that, where they had just lost a child, and a year to the day they find an abandoned child on the steps here with no one around. And they have, like, what else would you do if you see no one around and a child? Like, you take that child in, you figure out what to do, and in turn they end up adopting him, and this child ends up being one of these new gods, quite possibly the replacement for our missing dark side. So again, he's pulling on heartstrings, and he's doing so in an incredibly effective way.
Yeah, it's I don't know, the machinations of Metron, right? I don't.
Well,
he's supposed
Metron,
to be.
He's supposed to be the voice of God, right? Like,
he's,
I mean,
he's
that's
supposed to be all prophecy, right? Like, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. He's but it seems like he's meddling more than he should be, right? Like, what is he up to?
Yeah.
And wanting to see the destruction of Apocalypse, it's or so it seems. I don't know, man. I'm intrigued, and I can't wait to see how it all. Metron Crooktongue. I love his nickname for it. But yeah, man, I don't know. It just makes me it does make me want to dive back into the Kirby stuff and learn more about the backstory between these people. But it's also I feel like such a it's such an impressive understanding of that world, and also allows you to kind of go with the flow and not really need it if you don't want it. So yeah, I think it's incredible work by the creative team.
All right.
who's been your favorite so far out of like the
Well,
new gods characters?
well, I'll be honest. My absolute favorite, like without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite is going to be Michelle Malone right here. So it's wonderful to see you in the chat officially. Finally, thank you so much for joining us, sweetie. I love you. That's my wife. Hi.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
She's the person that makes half of the show all possible by giving me the time to hang out with my buddy Stu here. So
Yeah,
love you and appreciate you. My favorite character of all of the new gods characters so far, it's hard to say that it's not Mr. Miracle though. In fact, I would say it's impossible. Like, I mean, that's the heart, the charm, the driving force behind the book, right? Orion is the sledgehammer, whereas he is, I don't know, put a different metaphor in there, right? He's the backbone of the book that like gives you a feeling like things are all going to work out, where Orion is just like a force of nature. So like I have to lean towards that. What about you though?
I don't know, man. I think it's Metron for me. I just love the look of him, and I'm curious as to what he's up to. But yeah, I think I'm partial to him just because of the design, if nothing else. Yeah, mine's just off camera, like half growling at me like a wild animal. So yeah.
But we appreciate her too. I hope she heard that. We appreciate you.
Love you, Jess.
Oh man.
Yeah, man. It's I think it's gonna be Metron for me. Final answer. Yeah.
Fine. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Like I feel like there's a lot of mystery behind that character, rightfully so. And that's kind of the cool thing, because again, being the voice of God, being the prophet, the person who can deliver prophecies, he knows more than he would ever let on, right? Because that's the purpose of the character. So, good, bad, or indifferent, like things are they're gonna get crazy. They're gonna get buck wild in this book here, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so here for it. I love, like I said last time, I love how Rambi has put a little bit of himself in this tale with, like, giving the backstory of the kid in India, and I'm just so excited to see where all it goes. I love a good dysfunctional family tale. So
yeah.
So
well, and actually, we got a good point here that we've kind of tiptoed around here, but I mean, I think it's the premise of DC All In at this point, and even the absolute books here. So I don't think it's spoilery. Isn't it implied that the baby is Darkseid reincarnated? Yes, absolutely. Which is so freaking exciting, because I think I can probably speak for both of us that one of my favorite runs, and I'd wager a bet it's for you too, is Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender, and the first artist was Jerome Opeña. And the premise of that story is all around the reincarnation of Apocalypse as a child, and it just took on the nature versus nurture storyline in such a beautiful way, where we're able to kind of see, like, what does this all mean? Like, is evil truly always evil, right? And they play with that same idea within the pages of New Gods, as well as the whole pact that is made for to warrant peace between New Genesis and Apocalypse, is that they trade their firstborns, right? Orion was born of Apocalypse, but raised in New Genesis. And the same thing with Mr. Miracle, born of New Genesis, raised in Apocalypse. Is good always good in the worst circumstances? Is bad never able to be, seek retribution? So it's cool things that they're able to play with here, because now they're just building upon that idea again. And I don't know. I'm just excited to see where.
See, I thought you were going to go Dark Knight's Metal when Batman had Baby Darkseid in a backpack. I don't know if you've ever read that classic, but stand back. I got a Baby Darkseid, and I know how to use him.
I'm here for that too.
You don't want these Omega beams, bitch.
So in Rom, I trust, and if he's going to put that baby in a basket and use it as a weapon, I bet it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But great call on Kid Apocalypse. What a legendary, still, I think a criminally underrated run, right? So many great artists on Uncanny X-Force. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Jerome Opeña, Greg Tockney. Who else was on there? Phil Noto did a run.
You said Esad Ribic.
Esad Ribic, thank you. Yeah, just murderous row of artists
Mark
that
Brooks.
are working.
Like, if you guys want a great,
that's right.
Great Mutant back issue or backstory, or not. I'm sounding like an idiot. If you guys just want a great trade paperback, get that Rick Remender Uncanny X-Force run. Just start with the first arc and go from there. But so many like, man, so many great tales in that. Yeah,
That book should
I can't
honestly come with a
recommend it enough.
disclaimer, though. Like it should say, like, all books will pale in comparison after reading this, because
And especially if you're a child of the 90s and you grew up reading X books in the 90s, there's so many elements of that there. There's elements of Morrison's run. Can't recommend it enough.
Nick, nobody needs you to talking this trash here. Nobody does. That's for you and your wife to deal with, okay, buddy? Like, have some self-control. All right. And I believe that should do it for our DC books of the week here, but that doesn't mean that we're done, because we still have our indie books here. We're going to kick things off this week with a book that, very honestly, I had dropped as of issue number 1. I just didn't feel like it was for me, and I'm so incredibly happy that I was berated into reading it again by my wonderful commenters here. In fact, it was Odd Thoughts fellow that hit me up here, who he actually does really great comic book reviews as well. So if you haven't already, go check out Odd Fellow Thoughts. He was saying, like, you love grommets, but you didn't like this, like, and that's exactly what my issue is with issue number 1 here. But I didn't quite get the premise. So speaking of the creative team here, written by Kelly Sue DeConnick, artwork by David Lopez, it revolves around a group of teenagers and primarily one parent figure, but a group of parents as well here as ancillary characters. And what I couldn't get my head around is that I have such an in with grommets because it's children of the 80s. And guess what? I was a child of the 80s. So everything was a nostalgia dump and everything hit so hard. Whereas this takes place in modern day, right? Like, at the very least, maybe the very recent past, but it seems to be very modern day. And it was such a hard time for me to wrap my head around. Like, I just can't relate to these teenage kids. I can't figure out the plights and the problems of these children as they go through the modern day, minutia of, post COVID and having cell phones in high school, and, the problems that they have with friendships, sinking and swimming and blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, oh, wait, this mother character, like, I kind of get, and I kind of understand where she's coming from. And I kind of get the duality that happens between the children holding the parent accountable and the parent holding the kid accountable. So there's a couple different things that are happening here that are kind of hand wavy explained, but maybe we'll get a little bit more as the story progresses. But one of the children amongst this group, they kind of do this ritual thing here, and they wake up and they are now basically this big hulking monster. But what's weird to me, and Stu, did you catch up all the way, or did you kind of dive in head first?
I dove in head first and then kind of caught back up, but
Okay,
I'm there. Why? What's your
cool? Okay, well, I just want to make sure, because if I missed a piece here, I want you to be like, "Hey, shut up, idiot!" Like, here's what really happened. But it feels to me like this was very much like hand wavy, like, "Oh, this just happened," but societally, like in the book itself, nobody's acting like this is out of the norm. Like, this is just something that happens. Like, everyone, oh, you're just going through your monster phase, like, don't worry about it. And I think that's what kind of like tossed me. I'm like, is this a supernatural book? Is this a slice of life book? And the answer is just kind of yes. Like, just just yes, right? That's what it is. So you have to dive in and understand that. So we have kind of the thinly veiled coming of age story with these characters and a person's body going through changes, right? And this being a monstrous term. But on the flip side, we also have the mother dealing with, what that means, right? And being a single mother and trying to navigate being a single mother who is an individual, but who's also a parent, who's also trying to provide for their children. I'm like, oh, well, I don't have the single parent portion of it, but I have the parent portion, and I have an adult trying to make a living to support their family. Like, I have the inroad now. I get where this book is coming from. And Kelly Sue DeConnick, I think, is doing a really great thing with the tone of this book. And again, it's something I didn't pick up on with issue 1, but it's almost like, did you ever listen? I think there were there's a lot of them in the 90s, but there was a lot of poppy songs that were really happy and joyful sounding. And then you start listening to the lyrics and you're like,
yeah.
like, holy shit, that's for really morose. Like, Are you singing about your father dying and like it in an an E and a C like on the guitar? Like that's weird, but like I get it. I feel like this book is dealing with heavier topics and weightier topics, but doing so in kind of a playful manner, right? And you can see that in the way that David Lopez is approaching some of the artwork, because as you get like the conversations and arguments between characters, it jumps right into like a sketchbook, like as if you were doodling in school, a sketchbook version of the thing that they're explaining. Like they were talking about having an assembly, right? And one of these teachers saying basically like, I hope you appreciate what you have right now because this is the best time in your life and it's never going to be better than this. And like the impact that that has on a child's mind going, this is as good as it gets, because it feels like crap right now. I'm getting bullied in school. My body feels terrible. I don't know what's up and down.
Yeah.
People are asking me what I want to do with my life, and I don't know because I don't even understand algebra right now. So it's really great to see how they're playing with those emotions. But again, on the flip side, when they're talking about the mother character who is kind of leaning on them too for some like simple things like, oh, I know what it means when you say you're going to be ready in 10 minutes. What it really means is that you'll be ready in 35 minutes because you haven't even started getting ready yet. So they're going through all these motions and they're calling each other out. It's a really great game of back and forth with the dialogue of all these characters that they're working with. So before I jump into the big premise, like kind of the end part of the story here, what's been your experience with catching up with this book, and kind of what are your feelings about, I guess the writer, the artist, the duo?
I think you I agree. I completely agree with you. What you said about the transition to the monster, that caught me a little bit off guard as well. That said, I think DeConnick is really found something here with like her ability to authentically write young people their situations, especially in the modern day.
Mhm.
And the dialogue is so real and on point, man. I was really impressed with the voices that you found for all these characters. And just the real there was a hold on, let me find it real quick. I got the when the band is about to play towards the end of the book, being a teenager in a global dumpster fire mostly sucks, I'll be real, but sometimes your friends surprise you. I mean, little moments of narration like that, and the moment that followed was really beautiful. But yeah, it was a mix. Like, I like what you said about grommets. There were certain elements of this comic book that made me nostalgic and remember certain moments from my youth. But it also made me think about my daughter and her experiences, and what it's like growing up for what it's like for her growing up in this crazy fucked up world that we're living in. And
Right.
which is something I obviously roll around in my mind with. I have 3 kids, and that's something that I deal with on the daily. But I thought the way it was um written about and executed in this comic book was fantastic. And I don't know, this is the type of book, like, I would love to recommend to my daughter, to Ella, and to that I think that she would enjoy, that she would take some honest interest in. I don't know if it's a book that I would continue reading. Like, it's something I might collect in, like, or read in collected form, or catch up with down the line. But that said, I think you know DeConnick's done so many things well. I think she's really onto something here. And I think, I know she's a parent as well, and has young kids growing up under her roof. So obviously this is something she's dealing with on the daily. But yeah, man, I was really impressed. I haven't really heard. I've heard mixed bags about, some good things, some bad about this book, and not really taking anything too seriously. So I try to keep as an open mind as possible with it, and I quite enjoyed it. I do like the artwork. Some spots it felt a little rushed, but then there's other panels where it really works for me. And I've felt like it was especially at the end, the color choices at the concert, and all that in issue 3, I really enjoyed. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's one of those books. Like I appreciate how incredibly authentic Kelly Sue DeConnick feels as the writer of this story, because it feels very heartfelt. It feels like it's very much the message that she's trying to sell. And if you're not down for that, like, I get it. This book is not designed to be for everyone. I think it might be designed for me though, because it does speak towards all of those things. Again, a parent myself, like,
Yeah.
it's a weird landscape for a child to be growing up in. And the weirder thing is that we understand what we were dealt when we grew up. So to see what they're dealing with feels incredibly foreign to us, but also feels incredibly normal to them, right? Because they don't have any other reality. So I like the way that they're playing with those ideas here. And again,
Yeah.
the
And just
supernatural. Go ahead.
real, just to speak to that, as a parent, there are things you can change and there are things you can't change, right? But there's, regardless, there's that degree of guilt, shame, responsibility, all those complex emotions that go in with raising a kid in the world today that you have to reckon with. So, and I think that this book, through telling these kids stories, does a great job of putting the lens on that.
Yeah, exactly. And the craziest thing about this is that we've spent, the last 10 or so minutes talking about all these wonderful aspects, the dialogue, the approach for the parenthood and the children and all this stuff. None of that has anything to do with the actual premise of this book, which is the supernatural aspect of it, being that one of these teenagers has turned into a monster, and the mother was also part of a ritualistic thing that happened in her childhood, which revolved around one of her friends being murdered and that murder never being solved. But they're kind of like, she's crafting a graphic novel based around all the events that have happened. And now they have what they believe to be as a suspect here, with their independent detective work, who is now returned back to town. So, like, the real story of this is all based around these supernatural events, which we've gotten little bits and pieces, but we don't know the interconnectivity between all of it. But it's all framed behind all of this wonderful narration and dialogue and all of the, again, the relationships that are being developed here. So it's a weird book, man. It's a weird read of a book, but I feel like if it can get its hooks in you by way of those other things, the parents and the children, the other stuff is secondary. Like, it's the through line that'll keep a book going, but it's not necessarily the meaning behind the book, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to
So
hear with, like, from a younger demographic about their thoughts and feelings on this book and how it's connecting with them. So this is like one of those books I feel like that they should circulate in schools, and you know what I mean. I feel like
yeah, it's
um,
like not young adult, but it's like it could speak to like
I can see
a
kids really
14 to
identifying.
16-year-old, right?
Yes,
Somewhere in there. Like, it has language in there, but like, come on, let's be honest. When we were 14, we were saying all of the seven dirty words that you can't say on
oh for
television.
sure,
So
yeah,
like,
for sure. Yeah,
yeah, we're not hiding anything. So
no,
all right. Before we hop into the next book here, we have one more person hop in with us, Edson EO.
Edson,
Edson,
what up,
always
brother?
nice seeing you. And
Hope
and
you're
before
well,
we
man.
hop into to our final book of the week here as well, here, let's get a sub count for us. Guys, we are at 198 subs for Dr.
Ooh,
Doom's fan club. The goal tonight is 200. So again, reach out to your family, reach out to your friends, reach out to some stranger that you don't know and tell them. Sub up to Stu at Dr. Doom's fan club. We'd like to get to 200 before the end of the night if we can.
thank you,
All
brother.
right. With that being said here, Stu, kick us off here with The Moon is Following Us, number 5.
Yeah, our hectic battle royale issue, right? Um, our two sides finally, meet on the battlefield. Great cover here by Riley Rossmo, by the way. Great cover, A.
Yes, absolutely.
One of their best of the series, I think. Yeah, so
He's at a
I don't
loss
know.
of words. It's so
I don't know
good.
how I feel about this one, man.
Dude, can I just tell you, I'm so glad that you said that. But
I
please
I liked
continue.
it. All right, I liked parts about it, and I didn't. I felt like other parts were too rushed and not fleshed out enough. The whole all right, so basically, these parents have sacrificed everything to on this quest to save their daughter from this comatose dream-like state, which she's kind of trapped in this world, which this dream world which they travel to, which contains all these figments of her imagination, that some of which are ostensibly on their side, fighting the good fight for Penny, and others want to keep Penny for their own selfish reasons, whatever they may be.
Yeah,
We don't really know, and we know that Penny's mom's mother, Penny's grandmother, is kind of like on the side of evil. We've learned that, and they have enormous power, right? They have most of the chips are stacked in their favor, but Penny's parents have made these sacrifices, essentially had their life force taken from them in order to amplify their fighting force, with which they can attack Penny's grandmother and all the forces of evil, and try to capture Penny back. Here we kind of, in the battle scenes, we learn that her mom is weakened to the state that she can barely even lift a rocket launcher and fire it across the battlefield, right? She's almost incapacitated and really not much of a help during this battle. We also learn that the old owl man, I don't know what this guy's name is, that has been guiding our parental unit since the very start, and led them into this dream world, and has essentially been the one that we can trust, has really been using them for his own reasons. He wants to free his own daughter, which we can't necessarily fault him for, but he has been lying to us the entire time. The battle goes back and forth, and obviously these twists and turns are revealed throughout. We also learn that, like, all these they've amplified their forces. They have all these clones. They're basically getting overwhelmed, and things aren't looking good. To me, at the end, we get, I don't want to spoil it. Should I spoil it? I'll go ahead and spoil it. It's been
go ahead.
Yeah, at the end, we get a little bit of relief from the nightmare forces from Penny's mind, who show up just in the nick of time, and we are Penny's nightmares. We're here to rescue you. Just as the parents are about to get overrun, they're literally in their last moments, embracing each other as they feel they're about to get eaten by these mindless drones that have been created by the opposing army. I don't know. It was a decent battle royale, but I guess given the epic artwork and amazing scenes that we've had in this book, this one, not to say that the artwork in this issue was bad, but like, I don't know, this one didn't blow me away as much as previous issues have. Like when the snake first showed up, or some of those earlier visuals, like with the owl man outside the hospital room, like some of those ones that really stick in my mind. I read this issue for the first time, and some of this artwork is absolutely fantastic, but it doesn't linger and really smack me upside the head like previous issues have. And I feel like for our battle royale issue, that needs to be the name of the game, right? We should have, like, let's give DWJ a double splash right here. Like, maybe he doesn't do artwork for the next 1 or 2 issues, but if we're gonna have a battle royale issue, like, let's have a little fun and mix some of his artwork in there, since we've only really seen it with the parents before. I don't know. I felt like it was a missed opportunity. The storytelling felt a little bit disjointed, a little bit forced. The nightmare forces showing up at the end, just, I don't know. This was the first, I think you said this in your review, but this was the first time in the series where I kind of hit the speed bump with it. It was like I hit the pothole, and I'm like, and this was the issue, man, where I was like, I was all in. I got the A and the B covers. Dude, look at this. Hold on, let me make myself
Yeah, I got you. There we are. Oh, hold on. Got it. I got you.
Great Daniel Warren Johnson variant. Like all the wings and the weapons and the wings, like such a great, right? And I got the A and the B covers for this one, but it just, I don't know, man.
You jinxed us.
Yeah, it fell a little bit flat, unfortunately. I just don't. I had maybe my hopes or my heights were too high for this one, but this was the first issue in the series where it was just like, I don't know.
Dude, I mean, you're echoing my sentiments perfectly, right? And I hate that you are, because I have had a heck of a lot of fun with this series, but this is the first issue where I was just like, okay, and I think that for the first time as a writer, Daniel Warren Johnson, I feel like the pacing of the issue is all off. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
really like the premise of the issue, and I really like what they were trying to accomplish with the issue, but like something was off. And when it comes to Riley's artwork on here, I feel like, again, you said it perfectly. We're dealing with the act of war, and nothing felt exciting about this. And I go back to to when I flipped through my How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way book, man, from John Buscema. He says you never draw the action in the middle of the action. You draw it at the peak of the action, which is your fist is all the way back here, or it's all the way followed through with that punch. And everything felt so freaking middle of action with every single thing that's happening in this book, that nothing felt energetic and nothing felt exciting. I like the thing that we get delivered. I like the twist, but the story build up until those points just had me going like, all right, cool, flip the page. And that sucks. That really sucks for a book and a creative team like this, because again, we hold Daniel Warren Johnson to a freaking high standard, because he delivers amazing books. And like, it feels weird talking about a Daniel Warren Johnson book in this way, because never had to do it before.
Yeah, and this so like in comparison, like what the issue I was talking about when with the mom reveal or the grandmother reveal, right?
Oh,
And the big snake, I feel like those moments should have been swapped around. Like that should have been the big beat here in that moment, because that felt like the big giant battle royale like issue. This felt like it was muddy, like you said, man. The pacing felt so weird, and it felt muddy, and like they were trying to get through it, and it wasn't clicking like it normally has been, and all the beats lined up.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and we got Rooster Blue down here even agreeing with us. So far this book has just, been a notch above meh for me, but the twist is definitely what had me. I mean, I've liked the series up until this point. I feel like this is truly the only point where we've gotten like a little bit of a, oh, what happened here? But again, it was really weird, because we've just become accustomed to greatness. So really kind of bizarre here. But we got Omega Slice rocking with us again here. Omega, nice
good to
seeing
see
you, man.
Thank you for coming through.
Yeah, weird issue
Yeah,
though.
man.
Really weird, kind of funky issue. But hey, you know what? It's not the last issue, so they still have some time to win us over.
So what are we looking at? Like, I know that we thought we should have League of Comic Geeks up for something. How many more issues do we have for this one?
I just closed
this
it.
Is
Hold on.
This is the one. So this is the one. But the end of this one made me wonder where the story's going. How many? You know what I mean? Like normally at the end of these issues, I don't have any doubt about that. But this was like, all right, so we're bringing another element in, and we're still like, I don't know where we are at with everything. And
well, this is issue number 5 here. We're solicited through 7. We got a trade paperback coming out. Sam and so the solicitation reads: Sam and Duncan look inside themselves to fight the demons out to get to their daughter. They actually might not make it. It doesn't say final issue or anything like that. Who knows? Maybe this could be like a secret thing where they love doing that, like and pick up in volume 2. Maybe the sales have been good enough to maybe they're stretching this out. Maybe this was a change halfway through the process that was made to give us a little bit more room.
That, you know what though, like the more I think about it, the more that sounds accurate, because it felt like, hey, on this issue, can we stretch it a little? And yeah, I don't know.
Well, here we go. Simpleton saying he thinks it's 10. How do you know this stuff? First off, Simpleton, do you got an inside man? Like, don't tell us. Keep your secrets, but hit me up on the side. Maybe slide into those DMs. Tell me how you know this stuff.
Simpleton be knowing.
He's be knowing, yeah.
He'd be knowing.
All right. Well, thus concludes our look into the big 2 and the indie books of this week here. But that doesn't mean that that's all that we have here, because today, well, before we get to New Comic Book Day, I almost got ahead of myself. We got the covers of the week here. Whoops. All right. I only had a couple picks. Yeah, but I had to. Do we talk so glowingly of Chris Samney that it would be
Oh
I'd
man,
be remiss to like not bring him up again with his stunning cover of World's Finest here, showing again the person he's drawing right now, Batman, but also Superman right next to him here. Really sparse, really clean cover. I really love the approach that he's taken on this one.
fantastic, dude.
Yeah. The only other cover I really saw here. All right. I looked
You
at
went
the
easy
cover.
on me. I thank you for going easy on me this week. I appreciate it. You gave
Dude,
me
do you
some
know who
room.
drew this cover though?
Nah, who
Take a
is this?
wild
This
guess.
was. I have no idea, brother. This one's adorable. This one is. I don't know.
You're not
I
gonna
don't
get
know.
it. I guarantee it, man. Friend of the show, appreciator, watcher of the show, Mr. Ian Bertram. At least based on what it says on League of Comic Geeks, I would have
What?
never guessed it. Like
That's
totally
Ian.
different approach to what we've seen from our boy. So if this is true, if this is really Ian Bertram, wow, that's a different take. But regardless, whoever the artist of this is,
That is
I
so
was
fire.
yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this one here. I thought that the cover work, while I'm not a huge fan of the book itself, it's kind of let me down a little bit. The covers and the artwork have been absolute fire here, so I had to shout that one out.
Yeah, I love seeing the Walter portraits or anytime somebody's doing the Walter character, like their artistic interpretation of that. I'm here for it
Yeah,
because
here we go.
Arahu just really, I think it's no, not Arahu. Anyway, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name either, so that's why I'm just kind of like
Andre Lima. I forget his last name. The artist
Arajo.
on Nice. No, is it Arahu?
I don't know. Yeah, see, yeah, we're guessing here. But Omega Slice is saying I didn't think that was Ian at first look either. If you know more than me, man, drop it in the comments here because I was completely flabbergasted by the fact that that could just be Ian Bertram right there. Because
That's
again,
amazing.
totally different stylistically, but would be really cool if he's stretching different muscles, man. Because that's awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead. I gave you some leeway here. Talk about your covers.
Ultimate Wolverine obviously dropped. Steve Scroce, who did an amazing series last year called Clobbering Time, a little mini that he wrote and drew. I love this torn up Ultimate Wolverine fighting Colossus and Omega Red. We got the legend Walt Simonson doing a New Gods variant. Just had to include him, man.
That's so sick, man. When I saw you drop that, I was just like, oh my God, I hadn't even seen that one yet. It's perfect.
Dude, anytime I see Walt's art these days, I try to grab it on the variants. He's still doing fantastic work. Sometimes they recycle stuff, sometimes it's new, but yeah, I love this one. So I want to say this might be connecting. I could be wrong on that. But there could be more of these coming that connect. So the one I just showed off, Daniel Warren Johnson doing
that looks
the
familiar.
variant. Yeah, from Moon is Following Us, of course. And then I think this is Mahmoud Asar doing the Doom X-Men homage with Sue Storm
Doom
and
out
the
there stealing
Fantastic
people's
Four.
girlfriends.
Yeah, that's right, man. Mr. Serial Girl. And then finally, Pablo Villalobos. I thought this was incredible. What a crazy great cover for Laura Kinney Wolverine. That's for my boy dope. Talk. That's for you, bro.
There we go.
Thought of you when I saw that one. Is that all I have? Do I have more? No, that's all.
That's all you got here. What we do have a little bit more of is some investigators in the chat though here. So here's what we got here. League is wrong. I just double checked, and it's Helena Marcellus. Good job, Omega. And then we got Edson
for the cover.
For the cover, yeah. So that wasn't Bertram. Thanks for Another World website. It says it's Ian Bertram as well. Interesting stuff here. Hey, kudos to the chat here doing the heavy lifting for us.
Appreciate y'all.
Our schlubs over here, not even fact checking our stuff here.
Hey guys, tell us who this cover's for.
Yeah, Jack Kirby. I don't know.
Bunch of amateurs we are. Yeah,
amateur hour. Yeah. But hey, even though we got our amateurs, we also got people just like Sleepy, who is absolutely not an amateur at all here. Nice to see you, Sleepy.
I love that avatar, bro. That's real life right there. I feel that.
No kidding. Okay, so what I was alluding to though is that we're done talking comics of last week, but that doesn't mean that comics have ended here because it happens to be New Comic Book Day, and we had a bunch of comics that released here. Starting with the ones that we see off to our right here. So, Stu, what's got you excited?
Man, definitely absolute Wonder Woman, right? That's top of the list. Noel Hunter has had amazing artwork. Prairie Gods has been what does that say? The Nines? Is this or the Mines?
The Mines.
Is that like is that an offshoot, or is that going to be still the same series?
Same series. I think that's just kind
Okay.
of like the premise of this particular issue.
Dude, that's been one of my like favorite sneak surprise series of
Big time.
last year and this year. So I have you to thank for that. Thank you for absolutely. Yeah, like I said, Noel Hunter, Michael Walsh writing incredible art. Ultimate Spider-Man, I'm definitely here for. I'm probably missing something. How has Phoenix been, bro? Talking about solo X books. Is that are you still
I
enjoying
love
it?
Phoenix. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying it. I still think it's a really exciting look at the character of Jean Grey. But the best part, again, she's away from the X-Men. It is solely a Jean Grey cosmic book, and it makes it it just makes it exciting. It makes it kind of like not predictable, basically, right? We know what we're gonna get from an X book, and I don't know what I'm gonna get from Phoenix issue to issue. So it's been pretty good. And the artwork been really nice. Still Marvel style, right? But like elevated Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been digging it.
Oh yeah. Good.
Let's
Good
see
to hear.
here. We got
If
Braden
there's
jumping
anything
into
else
the
missed.
chat here with us. Hey, would you guys live critique my comic on Kickstarter pre-launch? I have 7 pages up and want your opinions here. Braden, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us here. But do us a favor, hit us up on IG is probably the best place here. Let's talk. Let's figure out what we can do here. But yeah, we appreciate you stopping by for sure. And it's a comic book, so we appreciate comics. All right.
Yeah,
Before
absolutely, dude. Thanks
yeah.
for reaching out.
So that kind of does it for the comics of the week here, though. But that's not all here because you're going to find Stu in a plethora of different places here. So Stu, why don't you talk about where we can find you next?
Yeah, man. Surrounded by short boxes, my weekly spotlight on the back issues from my personal collection and why I love them so much. I got a new episode probably dropping tomorrow. I'm going to be spotlighting a new X-Men 121, the silent issue by Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly as Jean Grey and Emma Frost make a psychic rescue of Charles Xavier. One of my favorite issues all time. Can't wait to get into it and talk about the whole Enough Said initiative by Marvel at the time to do silent issues and the history of a couple great silent books, all included in that video. Of course, Ink and Insights every Wednesday here with my boy E, either on this channel or on Dr. Doom's Fan Club, 9:30 p.m. I will be on my homie Verno's channel tomorrow, Blood Splatter Chatter, as I am every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow we're covering Fright Night with the homie Link. Yeah, I can't wait to get into that. Check us out every Thursday night for horror movies, old and new. We do themes throughout the month, all sorts of fun stuff, man. Vern runs a great channel and has great shows without just me on them, doing shows on Sunday and all throughout the week. So make sure you check out Blood Splatter Chatter and are subbed up. Yeah, and like I said, I was on No Good Comics last night for Omni X, and make sure you check out Justin and John's Comics with Kids, two of the best in our community. I think that's it for me.
I was gonna say, basically, if there is a show that's happening here, there's a small possibility that Stu might be a part of it here. So if you're on YouTube here, just keep an eye open for your boy. He might be out there.
Yep,
as for myself, I had the pleasure of joining the guys over on Pop Culture Philosophers Monday evening to talk The Big Lebowski, one of my absolute favorite movies of all time. We had a blast talking about that movie. Other than that, on Monday, my comic book review show On the Pull List happens to drop every single Monday as well, where we talk about all the books we spoke about tonight, plus a plethora more. You get to hear all of my thoughts, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the in-between stuff about all these fantastic books here. Other than that, you can catch us both January 31st over on the all new, all different Blame Fable show, which happens to be his not only his comeback, but his Comics Curing Cancer stream here. This is the redo that we've seen as this was originally scheduled in the past year. Things happen. We couldn't make it happen at that time here, but we're coming back stronger than ever here. Do us a favor, check out the IG posts, hit up Nick Comic Culture, hit up Fable, find out how you can be a part of this, because the bundles that we have here for the donations that can be made are absolutely fantastic. And you don't have to wait for the show. Get your donations in early and often. You're helping a great cause. You can win great prize packs. There's no excuse not to be a part of this. So we can't wait to see you January 31st, all new, all different Blame Fable show. But that does it for us tonight. Stu, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. We appreciate you. We love you. We're dipping out. We hope you have a great time. See you later.
Station.